Hi, everybody. It's Marjorie Waldo with Culture Under Fire, making a case for the arts. Today's episode is entitled Rooted in Culture, Preserving Stories, Sharing Futures. And today I'm lucky enough to get to sit with Charlene Farrington, the Executive Director of the Spady Cultural Heritage Museum. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the question today is how do we keep our cultural stories alive in a very frequently and massively changing world? I'm going to talk with Charlene about how storytelling, archiving, and arts preserve who we are. From oral histories to contemporary exhibitions, we'll discuss how cultural institutions safeguard collective memory while making space for new narratives. The act of preservation itself can be a form of innovation, keeping heritage vibrant, relevant, and shared across generations. So today, we're lucky enough to sit with Charlene, who, if I can brag on her for a minute, is a graduate of Mercer University in marketing and computer science, which I never would have guessed. Her career has spanned professional runway modeling, retail and IT sales,
Yes.
I'm going to call it, and public speaking, which you'll see today why she's good at that. She holds leadership positions in cultural history organizations, including being the president still. Is this a current position?
Of which one?
The South Florida branch of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History.
Yes, now I'm vice president.
Now you're vice president. How long have you been part of that organization?
It's been since 2015.
11 years this year. Yeah. She is an experienced archivist, fundraiser, and mentor, and the executive director of the Spady Cultural Heritage Museum here in Delray, the only Black History Museum in Palm Beach County and one of the few in Florida. And it is a nonprofit cultural institution focused on documenting, preserving, and presenting the history and contributions of Black communities in Palm Beach County.
Yes.
Did I get it right?
You got it right.
Charlene, I love you. I've known you for a long time now.
Indeed.
A
It has been
decade
a while.
about.
Yes.
I think, maybe longer.
Yes. It feels longer because we have so much in common.
I think we do have a lot in common.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of different things.
I have.
It's really cool.
My career has been in 10-year chunks. I've done 10 years of just about everything, except for when I got to the museum. From that point on, it's been over 20 years now I've been here.
Isn't that something?
It is.
Your mom spearheaded this effort. Do you want to talk about that first?
Yeah, let's talk about Mom, because that's why I'm here. When she started this museum, I was working at the Sun Sentinel. I was the email admin
Okay.
for the Sun Sentinel and was watching her go through this process. And her favorite line was, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'll do it.
Fake it till you make
That's
it,
right.
Fake it
That's
till you
right.
make it.
And so I watched her pull resources together, make requests of people that, were in her world and were not in her world, fearlessly going up to people that she didn't know and requesting help. And she pulled it together. Of course, she had help. She worked with Mr. Pompey and with others around the city, Pat Casey and Francis Bork, a lot of people helped her along the way.
What year was it that the Spady started, really?
So they began in 96. And when I say began, that means she started pulling people together to collect the history.
Right.
She received her official 501c3 in 97.
Okay.
And she also went to the city in 97 and requested that the city purchase the Spady House and the Williams Cottage to run the museum from.
I didn't remember Francis Bork's participation, but that was close to a decade after they had begun to recover what was the original white elementary school in Delray Beach,
Right.
Old School Square.
Right.
And I didn't know that she'd participated, but she was so successful at Old School Square that I'm sure that helped. And Mr. Pompey, that's a big one.
Yes. Well, she was volunteering at Old School Square. And so she was listening to the stories that were being told, realizing that half the story was missing. And that's how she got involved. That really triggered something in her to say, there's some information that's missing here. I can help with that. And of course, the ladies at Old School Square were thankful for that. They agreeable.
Right.
And that's how she got started.
That's really cool. And it's really important, I think, to mention that the city of Delray Beach historically has been incredibly supportive of arts and culture in our town.
Absolutely.
And made it possible for us to become a place that people can look to, that you're the only Black History Museum in Palm Beach County. That's
right
a big award. Yes, I think they're building something.
They're building something in West Palm, yes.
But for all of this time, this has been the only thing, and Delray is the reason for that. So I think, and obviously your mother's work and efforts, that's really cool.
And you know, part of it, and I heard this said, I can't remember who said it, part of it is that if you want your society to really buy into your community, to protect it, take part in it, and be proud of it, you have to make sure that you are sharing their stories and their information as well. If you're leaving a whole swath of society out, those people are not going to have any buy-in to whatever it is you're doing, good or bad.
That's right.
And so that was an important thing that needed to be done right in those earliest days of redevelopment of the downtown area.
I think it's really important. I mean, so I was an educator for a long, long time, a couple of decades. And as a principal, one of the things I tried to do was make sure that the teachers in front of my students were a strong representation of the community those students came from.
Right.
Because it matters.
It matters.
In how engaged people become in whatever it is.
Exactly.
And Delray's history for the Delray's Black history in terms of founding the community. Can you talk about that a little?
Yeah, and let's talk about it in terms of the cultural perspective.
Okay.
Culture includes many times values.
Yes.
Those things that we value in life. I'm going to talk about this. I rarely do, but I see it so often that I just have to put it out there.
Okay.
There are people who value being first.
Yes.
They want to be first.
Yes.
And personally, I'm all for them.
Yes.
You want to be first? You go first.
Yes.
I'll follow you. Right?
Yep.
But the stories that have been told before the Spady Museum came along, let me just put it this way, as I was growing up here in Delray Beach, were always about who was first and who did what first. And that was valued as the history. That's the history of Delray Beach. The first mayor and the first postmaster and the first this, that, or the other.
Right.
Because Black people were not engaged in the earliest, no, I can't say that either. Because Black people's efforts were not recorded in the earliest days of our settlement period, they were not given the respect of being first at anything. And therefore, their stories weren't told.
Right.
And so if I'm living in a community that is only highlighting the accomplishments of white people, and make no mistake, white people in Delray Beach have had huge accomplishments.
Absolutely.
But if only their accomplishments are recognized and accomplishments of people that look like me are not recognized, I'm going to grow up, I did grow up thinking that this is a community that was built by white people for white people. And I'm kind of a guest here. I'm not going to buy into anything that's going on because after all, it wasn't made for me.
Right.
I'm not going to be as caring about what happens to the community because it's not really my community.
Right.
I had one of our city mayors say to me, why do you think the city should support the Spady Museum? First, you need to get your community to support the Spady Museum. He said that to me. And I said, I'm sorry. I thought the entire Delray Beach was my community. My mistake.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
But it is a perspective that is constantly being battled, I think.
It is.
And it comes from privilege,
It
right?
does.
And that doesn't mean that the person who said that was a bad person.
Correct.
Meant it as a legitimate question. But what you don't know, you don't always know what you don't know.
Right.
So having the ability to enlighten the perspective of our town by making sure people understand the complexity of what you're describing right now. That in no way is an effort to tell the story of Black founders of Delray or the things that Black people in Delray Beach have done for our community. In no way does that take away anything else that any white community member has done.
Absolutely not.
Doesn't lessen that
It does
involvement or contribution.
It does
It
not.
only makes us look more united and more aware and more
Caring
grateful and caring
of the
right?
people in our community.
Yes, all of the people
All
in our
of the
community.
people in our community, especially if you're in an elected position.
For sure.
Those people want to see you do something, not say something.
For sure.
Do something that proves that you, and I'm not talking about, being in love. I'm talking about at least acknowledging that there are others in your community who may be of a different culture and that you care about those others and the culture that they are in.
Well, this is a symbiotic relationship, what makes up a community, right? So we don't exist in isolation of one another. We exist together.
Correct.
And so making sure that everybody's aware of everyone else is super important.
Exactly. And at the same time, not only being aware, but realizing that the others in your community may not have the same values that you do. They may not, and values is the word I want to use. They may not value what you value.
Correct.
I was talking to someone recently. We were talking about putting sidewalks in community. And the person I was talking to was kind of surprised that there were neighborhoods in Delray where the residents weren't really all that excited about sidewalks running down their street. They were trying to get them out to community meetings to talk about the sidewalk and the improvements, and people just were really not interested. Not everyone values a sidewalk, and obviously I'm using the sidewalk as a metaphor. Some people like having their grass go all the way to the street. Some people like having access to their entire front yard. You can't always expect everyone to value what you value, but you can go to people and ask them what they value.
Right. And as an overall community, we should try to make sure that everybody in our community has a little of what they value.
Exactly.
Representing them, right?
Exactly.
I think it's important.
Yes.
I like my sidewalk. I live here just west of Swinton in the set, and I love the sidewalk, and I love seeing my neighbors every morning when I'm sitting on my front porch and talking to them. But you're right. There are communities that don't necessarily want that.
That's true. I live on a street where there is no sidewalk on my side of the street. That doesn't stop people from walking back and forth. That doesn't stop me from waving and saying hi. But there's no sidewalk there. Now, granted, people, especially people in elected positions, have to think about bigger things.
Yes.
Like safety.
Infrastructure and safety and all that, right.
I understand that. So there will be times when things occur in your community that you may not be excited about, but you really have to pick your battles.
Well, and so if we take that metaphor of the sidewalk and we carry it to the work of the Spady Museum, that's really a big part of what you're sharing with the greater community, the South Florida, all of Florida's community who visits you, is the cultural history of the Black community.
Yes. And I'm starting with recognize that there is a community of Black people who were forced to be insulated in the earliest days of our community, and then eventually were not required to be insulated. But how can you expect a group of people, how can you expect a child who was raised to like bologna to grow up, listen to you say, oh, you shouldn't eat bologna. It's not good, it's not healthy. There are much better things to eat in life. The child may eventually agree with you and follow you with what you're going to eat, but they grew up eating bologna. They're going to continue to eat the bologna.
Right.
They're just not going to let you see them do that.
Right.
There are things that Black people experienced in life that created the community that we live in that cannot be changed just because someone else says that they shouldn't indulge in that, or it shouldn't be that way, it should be this way. We strive to open our worlds, to experience new things, and maybe change some of our habits, especially if we are convinced that some of our habits are not healthy, perhaps. Mm-hmm. And I'm speaking specifically sometimes of the way we cook things.
Okay.
We try, we strive, but at the end of the day, people like their fried chicken.
Right.
And they're going to eat their fried chicken.
Right.
And so what I do at the Spady Museum is the first thing I do is try to make people understand there are people who like fried chicken, and they're going to keep eating it. And you need to at least acknowledge that, recognize them and acknowledge that, right? Without attaching a negative value to it.
Right.
That's the hard part.
Well, if you think about the history of the Black community, what I think about goes back centuries and comes from what things Black people were able to come together to celebrate. Food is one of them.
Absolutely.
When they couldn't have a church experience, when they couldn't have a school experience, it was something they could gather if they were fortunate enough to have access to food and celebrate traditions and rituals around those food choices.
Right.
So it makes total sense that we would find different things from different cultures.
Right. Exactly.
And we need to be aware of them so that we don't judge.
The judgment is where all the conflicts come in.
Right.
That's where the conflicts come in.
Right, for sure.
That judgment can be a horrible thing. And it's happened to all of us.
Well, and I think it happens all the time.
All the time, to all of us, not just Black people.
No, not just Black people. And I think it happens to women a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
Even a privileged white woman, it happens to a lot.
Okay.
Right? Different than any other experience of some other woman that may be of a different ethnicity or race or culture, right? But it still happens. So I think we need to remember that and have empathy for other people who it happens to too. I think it's a really important part. I think it is. And I think that part of the role that I admire so much that you play in Delray Beach, and I've lived here since 1999, and I admire so much the way you and the Spady, the organization, use your platform to teach. Because when I come and see an exhibit or share the collaboration of an event with you, which we've done in the past multiple times, I learn so much as a white person, even though I thought I knew it all. Because I do think I know everything, right?
Everybody knows everything.
But I do think that matters. And I think what people forget too, and I have this conversation with my kids who are 22 and 26. In my lifetime, the Black people west of Atlantic were not allowed to swim in the ocean off the beach in Delray Beach.
Oh, so you remember that?
I don't remember it from here, but I remember when that was happening. My first grade class in Southern Virginia was the first integrated class. So it's easy to think that it's been a long time since the civil rights movement, or it's been a long time since. It hasn't been that long.
It hasn't. And it isn't over.
And it's not over yet.
It's not over.
No. Okay, so I'm going to try to hit some of my questions.
Okay.
But we don't have to because I'm really digging this. We might just do a part 2.
Okay.
What I want to understand is how you went from, and maybe it's Mom, maybe it's Vera, but I suspect it's not just that.
Okay.
How did you go from the prior jobs that you had or your majors in college to being so passionate about what you're doing here in Delray Beach?
It's all personal. And I have been, I love education. I will seminar, webinar, go to class all day long if I'm allowed. And lately the conversation in the historic preservation world, in the archive world, has been tell your own stories. Tell your own stories. I was born and raised in Delray Beach, went away, didn't leave until I went to college, stayed away until 2000, and then moved back to Delray. Did not know any of the Black history of Delray Beach except for my own. And, barely knew that. When my mother founded this museum, I watched her through the entire process. And when the museum was finally ready to start hiring staff, I gave up my Tribune job and salary to come work for a brand new startup nonprofit because I wanted to know the history. I've always wanted to know the history. I didn't know that, but I've always wanted to know the history. And her work said to me, there is history to be known here. I didn't even know there was history to be had for a person of color in Delray Beach or Palm Beach County. So as soon as I realized that, I wanted to come here, I wanted to learn. And more importantly, I made myself a promise that there would no longer ever be a child of any culture to be born and raised in Palm Beach County and not know that Palm Beach County has such a rich and diverse history. They may not know what it is, but they are going to know that it exists.
Well, and we know that in education, and I always say I don't want to be political on the podcast, but I think it needs to be said that in the educational world, we're at the mercy of the textbook writers. So the history that's taught to us as children or young people is based on a specific and collective understanding of what history is.
And that's true as of 1970 when the schools were desegregated.
Right.
Prior to 1970, teachers in the Black community, knowing that large swaths of truth for Black children are nowhere to be found in the textbooks, they supplemented that education. The teachers who taught in Black segregated schools supplemented that education with Black history and facts that were not being shared in the school system. So that didn't really apply for Black children until schools were desegregated. And then...
Isn't that interesting? I always assume that integration means good things for everybody, right?
Everybody assumed that.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that. And it's evolving again. So in the, So I think you just taught me something today, in addition to what I already assumed. I'm glad you fixed that understanding that I had. And it makes me sad that something that so at Arts Garage, I want to have an integrated audience. I want to have an audience that represents all segments of the community. I would love for us all to learn from each other and to celebrate things together in a very benign way and passionate way, because the arts are nothing but beauty, right?
Exactly.
Arts and culture are beauty.
Exactly.
They don't have to be dangerous. They don't have to be scary. They don't have to be any of the things that make us resist learning about new things.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what I want as well.
It's a beautiful thing, but you can't have it unless you're also aware of how any transition you try to make can impact the people in your community.
True.
I think that's very interesting. Well, I mean, I'll go back to the beach thing. So for me, figuring out how to engage the Black community at Arts Garage has been a goal and a challenge for the entire 9 years that I've led the organization. If you look back at the time that is much longer than the time since it, let me try to say it a different way. If you look back at how many years Black people weren't even allowed to be on the east side of Delray, live there, buy a home there, eat out there, go to the beach there, there is an oral history that's been passed down that's fact-based.
Yes.
On what the Black community had to adjust in their desires. If they wanted to go to the beach, they had to go to a different beach.
Right.
Designated for Black people.
Right.
That was passed down through generations. And the understanding is the east side of town is not for us. The west side is where we are.
Right.
Well, Arts Garage is on the east side, damn it.
Right.
And so it has proved a significant challenge for me to understand how to develop trust in the broader community that what Arts Garage offers is, in fact, for everyone in our community. You've helped me adjust that. It's still not where I want it to be, but I've made strides because of the work you've done with me over the years. You trusted me to collaborate and do cool stuff, and we had some support we had some support from the CRA at a time to help us do some cool programming too.
That was great, yes.
That was intended to bring the entire community together.
Yes.
But if you're honest about the limitations and restrictions and inequities of our shared history, then it's easy to see why things are the way they are today.
I have 2 points to make here, and I'm going to forget one I know. The one is, it goes back to values.
Okay?
Some Black people have not had the opportunity to inherit, to expand their personal wealth, to expand their knowledge and education, to do all the things, to travel, to try new things. Some people, and I'm going to modify, some people, not just Black people, some people have not had that opportunity. They may not value going to a concert, going to a museum, certainly not supporting a venue financially as much as others, because their focus in life is on
Survival.
something different.
Often.
Yes.
Surviving.
Something more important for them. So there are those people who are in our communities, all of our communities, who are not there yet. But the other thing I wanted to talk about is there's a lack of trust.
Yes.
People in the United States, and I can only speak for the United States because that's where I've spent the most time, have learned that when white people say it or white people do it, it's good. And when other people say it or do it, I got to wait and make sure that they know what they're talking about.
Jury's still out.
They may not know what they're talking about.
Right.
So if the Spady Museum hosts a family reunion, plug, and white people don't want to come, then is it really someplace I need to go as a Black person?
Isn't that interesting?
And to carry
And
that
horrible.
even further, if the Spady Museum hosts something else, and it's at the Spady Museum, and certain people who are looked up into in the community, I'm trying so hard to be, because I really am not targeting anyone. I'm not really talking at anyone. I'm just talking from my experiences.
Right.
If certain people don't support it, then it must not be good.
Right.
It must not be worth my time. It must not have any value. I learned this when I was working with children. When I first started at the Spady Museum, I used to do outreach. I spent, 6 months maybe at the Achievement Center with
didn't
my
know
programming.
that.
I would load up my car, take my teaching materials over to Achievement Center, and every day I would have a class of children. They would give me some children and we would work on cultural activities. And if the white staff at the Achievement Center did not validate what I was doing, the children really didn't want to participate. They didn't think it was of interest. But as soon as I picked up on this, I invited some white staff members, because, Black staff had been working with me all along, some white staff members to come into the room with me and work with me on this or that, and they were happy to. Then the children thought, oh, okay, well, then this must be good. Miss so-and-so is in here, so we're going to do this thing. I noticed that a lot across the board in everything that I do. So we live and it's societal, and it was taught to us over the years, and it's still being, I don't want to say it, transmitted. That message is still being transmitted in different ways, shapes, and forms. That's why I loved marketing.
I was just going to say, messaging is everything.
Fascinating, right? The topics, right? I remember telling someone, I remember having a conversation about one of the magazines in Delray Beach. And they were upset because there were no Black people in the magazine. Look at this. There are no Black people in this magazine. And I said, well, what I'm hearing or seeing is that the magazine wasn't produced for me. It's not a magazine that anyone wants me to read. I'm not mad about that. My attitude is, of all the magazines that are printed, if none of them are printed for me, I'm going to go print my own, right? I'll print my own. I'm not going to try to force anyone else to change anything they do on my behalf. And that's the way I'm hoping the museum presents itself. I don't want to force you to believe or change anything you do. All I want to do is say to you, I am here and I think differently. Now, if you can accept that, then we can go to the next level.
Right.
If you don't want to accept that, right. I am not the one.
Right.
I am not going to point you out. I am not going to call you out. Right. I am not going to try to force anything from you.
No, you're providing access.
Absolutely.
To information, to history. Yeah, you're providing access. And it's so interesting to hear you talk about this, Charlene, because I think there are similarities. Like for me, trying to get the Black community to engage in programming that I offer, if I don't have you or someone else that the Black community in Delray Beach does respect and feel is a good person to follow their judgment of the value of the experience, right? Then it's hard for me to engage that community. So I think it's a lot of branding and marketing and time to build that kind of trust. How many centuries? Well, this is getting very sad for me. How many centuries does it take for us to get to a point where people want to take advantage of the access we're offering?
So I don't know how many centuries it's going to take, but one thing that I've learned this past year, you know what kind of year this has been for us.
Yes, I do.
I don't know how many centuries it's going to take, but I know that Charlene cannot touch everybody. Charlene can only access the few people that she will access in her life. And I'm going to stop talking about myself in the third person. I can only access the number of people I can access in my life. If I can convince half of the people that I encounter that not only am I American, and the history that is in the four walls of the Spady Museum is American history. So yes, that's your history too.
Yep.
But I am a worthy person to walk this earth. And if I can convince another person of that, that's all I can do. The number of centuries it takes to change the minds of everybody living in Delray Beach, I don't think that's ever going to happen.
I don't think it's ever going to happen either.
It's never going to happen. But if 5 people, 10 people, okay, I feel like I've done my part.
Well, you know, I'll go back to education because that was my longest stint, and I use a lot of skills that I developed as a teacher and principal. If I could touch one kid, and I always worked with high schoolers, so I call them kids, but they were 16 to 21 years old, let's say. If I felt like I made a difference for one in a year,
there you go.
I succeeded.
Absolutely.
So I think realistically, that's the only way to keep yourself sane when you're doing the work that you're doing.
And what you're doing.
And what I'm doing is to do what you can in the sphere or circle that you exist in. That's all you can do.
Exactly.
And I do think that every person that you reach and persuade that what you have to offer personally or as an organization is valuable, that impacts lots of other people as well, because that person shares what they know with other people.
The ripple effect.
It does have a ripple effect, that will last long past when you and I will be here. I think it does grow a better community.
So the trick is for us, in the meanwhile, to not let the frustration of not being able to convince people to get to us.
That was a heavy sigh.
Because it's hard to do.
It's a burden. It's a heavy thing to carry.
It's hard to do. The no's, the rejections, even being ignored, not being validated. That all of that can really get to you, and you have to find a way to shore your resources. You have to find a way to shake off the rejections and keep doing what you're doing. All the while doubting, should I be doing this?
Right.
Why am I doing this?
Right.
Is this making a difference?
Right.
And
it's tricky business, and it's hard for me, it's hard to separate how I feel personally
yes.
from the work that I'm doing.
Yes.
Because I decided a long time ago that I would never work somewhere where I didn't believe in what I was doing, right? And I truly believe passionately in the impact art and culture can make in a human being's life and in a community's life.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I think it really makes a big impact. And I just keep trying to do self-talk to bring myself back to that. Not everybody tells you you're great. I don't mean me personally.
No, I understand.
Although I'd love it if you told me I was great. But I'm in the
I think you're
organization.
great.
Not everybody's going to come up to you and say, Charlene, what the Spady is doing is awesome.
Right.
But there are people out there who do see that.
Yes.
And you have to remind yourself that most people find it easier to complain
Correct.
than to pass compliments
much
through.
easier to give negative feedback than positive feedback.
Especially with screens and social media and.
And the way I'm programmed, and I need to figure out how not to do this either, I only ever see the negative. I zoom in on the negative. There could be, 30 positive comments, and then there's the negative one, and that's the one that I'm focused on.
I wonder why we do that. I find myself doing it too. And I think partially it's because, and I think we are very similar personality-wise in a lot of ways. But I compete with myself. I'm not competing with you.
Right.
I'm not competing with the work that the GDA is doing at Old School Square. I'm not competing with the WIC. I'm not competing with our neighbors and our sister organizations. I'm not.
Right.
I'm competing against myself. So if I have one person who thinks that what we're doing is bad, that hurts me because I'm trying to make sure what we're doing is good for everybody.
Right.
And I'm not trying to alienate anyone. And I know the Spady isn't either. And there's some kind of fragility of... So think about leadership. There are some people who don't want to hire somebody smarter than them, better than them, more skilled at a certain area of business.
Right.
Because they're afraid that means they look lesser than.
Right.
I totally disagree.
I never bought into that.
The strongest leaders are the ones who hire the brightest, shiniest, best people. And it makes you look better as a leader.
And you have to start with knowing what you don't know.
Don't you?
You have to know what it is you don't know so you can go find someone who does know.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. Okay. All right.
I have a quote for you.
Oh, tell me.
Reverend Jesse Jackson said, "You can't lead where you won't go. And you can't teach what you don't know."
Wow.
And back in the civil rights movement, the rhymes were ubiquitous because they make things easier to remember.
Right.
But that lead where you won't go is a big one. I want to just circle back to your point one more time. There are a lot of people who want to be the leader, and there are certain things that they want their followers to do that they would never do. I don't type. I hire people to do that. I don't crunch numbers. I hire people to do that. But if your people don't see you willing to do this work, why are they willing to follow you? Why would they want to do that?
I don't know
for
why.
you?
I know at the beginning when I took over Arts Garage, we were in crisis. And truly, I make jokes about it to this day. Part of my job description was being a plumber. Yeah. I would never ask someone to stick their arm in a toilet until I stood beside them and had the mess in my own hands.
Exactly.
And I agree with you. I think that's a big part of it. If I'm tired and I'm grinding, it makes people want to join me that I'm leading. I hope, anyway. I hope. I won't expect more from my people than I expect from myself.
At the very least, they will see you tired, and they will see a better way of doing what you're doing. And they will come to you and say, you know what, Marjorie, I think that you're doing, we could do it this way, and it'll be easier.
Let me help.
That's all I can ask for.
Yep, for sure. Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, we are almost out of time, and there's so much. So I'm going to invite you back for a part 2.
Okay. All
but
right.
I had on my list of things to talk about, I wanted to talk about younger generations. I wanted to talk about collaborations. I wanted to talk about your annual event, the Martin Luther King Jr. annual breakfast. I wanted to talk about the Palm Beach County Community Remembrance Project. And I think that's the one I'm going to focus on for this.
Okay.
For the last couple of minutes, I'd like you to talk about that because I think it's really, really important. And I'd just like you to tell us what it is.
Okay. Back in I'm looking for my date. I believe it was 2019.
Okay.
The Palm Beach County Commission agreed to participate in the Equal Justice Initiative's new program that they had created. They have the Monument Museum where they display the names and dates of Black people in America who were lynched between 1877 and 1950. Several years before 2019, they sent out a team of interns, and I sat down with one of them to collect the information of who these people were across the nation. And then they went back, they created this monument exhibit, and at the same time, they created an additional monument with the same information that was intended to be sent back to the county where the people were lynched for display as well. So the county commissioners agreed that they wanted Palm Beach County to take this up, and they reached out to several of us in the community and asked us to form this coalition to work on this project on behalf of Palm Beach County. And Commissioner Greg Weiss reached out to me and asked me to be part of this coalition, and I was happy to do it. I was thrilled that he thought of me. The goal of the entire project is to take delivery of this monument from the Equal Justice Initiative and put it on display in Palm Beach County at a selected location to represent the 2 men during this particular time period who were lynched here in Palm Beach County. So the first thing we did was to collect the historical information about the 2 men. Equal Justice Initiative gave us 3 criteria that we need to do in order to take delivery. One was community involvement, community education. We had to educate the community on these lynchings, racial terror lynchings in general, and who these people were. And let me just clarify, we're not talking about lynchings. We're talking about racial terror lynchings. It takes it to another level. It's what you've heard about when you hear about communities coming together, having picnics around people who are hanging by their neck from trees. The message being, if you step out of line and you are Black, this will happen to you. So they were designed to terrorize communities.
And there are newspaper articles. If it wasn't as far back as plantations with slaves,
right,
where they were required to see, watch, et cetera, so the fear was instilled,
right,
then the media shared these photos of these lynching parties, and I don't mean necessarily a group of people that go out to find somebody to lynch, but to celebrate the lynching of a Black person.
Yes.
They documented it for everyone to see in the public. It's heavy. It's so heavy. I went to one of the events that I think was at the community center, and I left with a tiny vial of soil from the ground under which someone was lynched. What the hell? So go ahead. That was the first criteria, was to have these community education.
Second criteria was to collect the soil.
Okay.
From either where they were taken from or where their body was found.
Okay.
And send it to the Equal Justice Initiative.
Okay.
They have a wall of jars of soil of people who were lynched across the country. And the Spady Museum has the 2 jars that we collected of the 2 people who were lynched here in Palm Beach County,
Do you want to
as
name
well
their
as
names?
other sites. Henry Simmons and Samuel Nelson.
Okay.
Henry Simmons in 1926, Samuel Nelson in 1923.
Okay.
The third criteria is to place historic markers, either where they were taken from or where their bodies were found, describing the circumstances around their lynching.
Okay.
Then, so the Coalition of Palm Beach County has done the community outreach. We have done the soil collections, and we are on the historic marker part of the project.
Okay.
The Equal Justice Initiative, however, has gone through a lot of changes, and they put this project on hold. So
Is it federally funded, that program?
I doubt it.
Okay. Okay. I was just curious.
I think it is a project of Brian Stevenson. I'm not entirely sure how much federal funding he gets.
Okay.
But as soon as they restart the program, we will begin with our historic markers.
Right.
It's time for us to place the historic markers.
Right.
And then the decision has to be made as to where the monument will be placed. We have to find a place within the county
Right.
where the marker can be placed.
Okay. You talk about the importance of history and the impact our history makes on our current lives. I can't think of a better example, horrible example than that to explain it. I hope that they will consider the Spady as an option for the location of the monument when you get to that point.
Everything is up for
I know you don't
consideration.
have necessarily a role in determining that, but I hope they are able, if you wanted it, if the Spady wanted it to be there, I would hope that they would choose you, because I think the work you've done, your mother before you, the community members who supported your mom in getting this off the ground,
Right.
and your continued work, I just think you and your organization, your family, because this is a sacrifice. That's what people sometimes don't know about nonprofits, is that when you choose a passion project like the Spady,
That's right.
that is a sacrifice, a family and individual sacrifice.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And I hope that you and the sacrifices your family has made and the impact your family has made, as well as the difference the Spady makes in our community and in our community members' lives, is celebrated in whatever way you choose. I think it needs to be honored and broadcast across the airwaves. I don't know how to end this, because I think there's so much more we could talk about. But I thought that was something that was really important while being super heavy and sad.
How much more time do we have? Because I do want to tell a story around that. It'll be
Tell a
quick
story, because this is all about the magic hour for how long people will listen. So we'll wrap it up after your story. So go ahead and
My
share.
story is a true story. I used to be on social media a lot.
Yeah.
I have since scaled way back on social media.
Okay.
And I was posting some information about something, and I got a comment. Like I said, you always zero in on, I always zero on those negative comments. And the comment was, why are you always posting, horrible news and, terrible news about what has happened to Black people? And has nothing positive ever happened to Black people? I really don't think we need to be sharing all this horrible stuff. We need to go forward into the future with the positive stories. And I wrote back and I said, I agree. I would love to go off into the future with the positive stories. If the horrible stuff wasn't still happening, if we could put to bed all this horrible stuff that happens to a group of people simply because of the color of their skin, we could step forward into a new, and I would love that. Are you kidding me? But if we don't share this information with our children, they're going to think it never happened.
And we can't have that.
And we can't have that because it can happen again at any moment.
Yep.
And then they're going to look at me. They've already done this, by the way. They're going to ring the doorbell at the Spady Museum and say, why did you never tell us this before?
Correct.
How come I'm just finding this out now?
Right.
And I'm 28 years old.
Right.
So we have to share this information.
Yep.
Not because we want to make anybody feel bad about it, but because we want to make people aware that this can happen and you need to. And when I say you, I mean all of us, every one of us needs to be aware that it can happen, and we need to safeguard against it happening again.
That's right, because history does, in fact, repeat itself.
It will repeat itself. It doesn't matter what we do or say.
Yep.
History is going to repeat itself.
Right.
You need to be ready.
Right.
And if we don't get you ready, who's going to get you ready?
Well, and I will say that I think it's important, and if you look at it from a very micro level and just look at a human being, who I am right now talking to you on January 6th is defined by my experiences.
Exactly.
Which include lots of access to things that many other people in my world did not have access to or still don't have access to. But it also includes a pretty significant amount of trauma. That would be a whole different podcast, right? It's not, it doesn't belong in this. But to understand why I am the way I am.
Right.
Or what skills I possess currently. Or what passions I have currently, then you have to understand my past as an individual. And if you want to be my future friend or future whatever, then knowing who I am means knowing where I came from.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean that stuff is, hopefully, some of the negative stuff is not still happening. A lot of it is. But I hope that people understand that by telling history, we're not trying to say it's present time necessarily, but it is part of who we are in the present time, which will greatly impact who we will be in the future.
Exactly.
So to hide from it, to feel so fragile that you can't hear about it or teach your children about it or have a conversation about it over a glass of wine or a cup of coffee, we're missing out on something that will keep us from being the best future us, I believe.
I agree. And I think that missing out is permeating our society.
It's scary, right?
It is. Which is why we just have to keep doing what we're doing.
We keep doing what we're doing.
And stop trying to change everyone and find a way to be satisfied with those people that we can have an impact on. And we do have an impact on.
And if we were to really do some metrics, right, and try to get it into quantifiable measurements, we could look back and say, okay, I know that Spady Museum had X number of visitors in this year when it started.
Right.
And then when I took over, it had X number in that year.
Right.
And today it's had X number in the last year.
Right.
And we can see growth.
Yes.
And for me, it may not be what we want it to be or enough or making the impact we want. And we may not be perfect yet and we'll just keep trying. But I think for me anyway, I try to measure so that I can remind myself it is moving forward. You are making progress.
Right.
It is helping.
Right.
It may not be what you thought it would be at this point,
Right.
but you are taking steps forward on the journey. And that's, I think, all we can do.
That's all we can do.
We can't expect people to see our sacrifice. We can't expect everyone to appreciate that sacrifice or to appreciate the history or the culture. But we can keep pushing. We're going to have to do it again if you'll come back. This one was very hard for me, and I'm trying really hard not to cry. And I want to just say how strong you and the people of your organization are to hold the weight of the history that you share and archive and market and educate with. That's a huge, heavy weight to carry on your shoulders. And I'm super grateful that you are willing to do that, because I think we won't get any better until we have some people who are willing to take the hit.
Yes.
So thank you, Charlene.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really glad you came and talked about everything you do, and I hope you will come back and we can go more into depth of some of the programming that you guys do. I'm excited about the breakfast
Okay.
coming up soon.
And we also need to talk about the next generation.
Yes.
And
I want to talk
all of
about
us
youth.
who must have apprentices in our positions.
Right?
We have to.
Who can carry on the work.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We should talk about that.
Okay, so we're going to do a part 2.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you like the podcast, and in particular this episode with the amazing Charlene Farrington, again, the executive director of the Spady Cultural Heritage Museum, just north of Atlantic Avenue in Delray Beach on Northwest 5th
Avenue.
Ave. I hope you will visit it if you haven't. And I just saw a post that you've started the historical bus tours again, which I want to sign up for when I've never done it.
Okay.
I hope that you will make a comment, follow the podcast, share it with your friends. You can write us at info@artsgarage.org with suggestions for future episode titles or topics and guests. We'd love your feedback, and we'd love to know that you are checking us out. So thank you so much for joining us. Charlene, again, thank you one more time.
Thank you for having me.
Love you very much.
Love you too.
And I look forward to part 2. Thanks, everybody.